Thanks a lot, guys, for joining us at the Club Summit here. I'm going to pass this on to Louise to introduce the event and get us rolling.
Welcome. This is quite a change from sunny Orlando, but at the end of the day, I think we're all grateful that we're healthy and we're together, and we are able to continue with this club summit, which I believe is really vital to so many of us. You'll find that the discussions we touch on today will be about best practices, and will offer you hopefully new ideas on navigating through a host of challenges that face youth clubs today through COVID. But before we begin, because I'm not sure how much time we'll have at the end, I would like to offer my thanks to Tim and Kwik Goal for continuing their vision, bringing soccer leaders together during these times. And although we are not in Orlando enjoying the sunshine, we're safe within our own environment, and look forward to being with each other in 2022. Paul went to two NAIA national championships in '84 and '85. He was a three-time All-American, two-time academic All-American. In 1992, he co-founded Seacoast United Soccer Club with Mike Noonan, and in 1996 committed to going full-time with the organization. Paul is the president and CEO of Seacoast United Sports Club, which now includes, I believe, 8 clubs and 10 facilities, unless you've expanded, in New Hampshire, Maine, Massachusetts. SUSC was one of U.S. Soccer's first development academy clubs, and in addition to soccer, the club runs baseball, field hockey, softball, and lacrosse programs. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to my friend, Paul Willis.
Thank you, Louise. I want to reiterate what Louise had said and thank Tim and everybody at Kwik Goal for putting this together. I think it's a great service. Obviously, we'd all like to be in Orlando. So before I even say any more about that, I want you to know I just turned 56 and I became a Facebook member about a month ago. So that should tell you how technological illiterate that I am. So any failure with this, you can blame it on my colleagues, James and Ian. We are going to try and rattle through 3 topics, but I want to make sure that all of you know that we will send you the presentation and you will always have our email addresses and contact info. So I'd like to think that we're an open book. So, whatever any of you might be able to have questions, whatever, whether it be now or later, is perfectly fine. So I'm going to just give you a little bit of a background on our presentation. Louise mentioned that I had started the club in '92. We started with 2 boys teams, under 14 and under 16, and the under 14s didn't kick in until the spring. So we pretty much started with older boys. So if you think about growth, then you can think about what about younger teams, and also what about girls. So when I went full time in '96, those were the things that were on my thoughts, that if I'm going to go full time, what is it that I can do to make sure that I can be sustainable and look after my family. I just had a baby boy and what have you. So you start to quickly think outside the box, and hopefully you'll get an idea of that. So the 3 topics that we're going to talk about, I'm going to do the sports, James Peterson's going to go advertising, and then Ian Burgess is going to talk about the changing landscape. So in terms of what I had just said about me going full-time in '96, I had to think outside the box purely from a soccer standpoint. Once we had become more established, started getting more players, more teams, getting the girls involved, et cetera, facilities then became an opportunity and a necessity in our area. And then again, we had to start to think outside the box. So I'm just going to quickly just show you some quick slides here. So obviously you've got baseball, lacrosse and softball, field hockey, and flag football. So one of the things, I'm not trying to be biased towards soccer or penalize anybody else, but being from England, I had a lot of opportunities to play soccer, not just because of Newcastle or the really good boys club team that I played, but school, at every year you could play, et cetera, et cetera. The one thing I would say about England that I didn't particularly appreciate and didn't understand until really now is I still don't think the opportunities were that great if you weren't very good. So if you weren't very good, you just didn't make the team and that's it, you're not playing. So here in America, we should be very proud of what we've done for soccer. If you think about it, rec, town, middle school, high school, competitive, elite, academy. So soccer has done an amazing job, even though at times it can be crazy in alphabet soup world, but we've done an amazing job in terms of trying to bring everybody into the club. So with these sports here, we primarily did them because of A, trying to provide opportunities, and B, with all due respect, they weren't very good. The kids didn't really have some of the opportunities that were available in the soccer world. So field hockey, for example, you could play middle school or high school in our area, which means you can play for 2 months out the year. So that's got us thinking to what are the things that we can do. So some of the benefits. So again, I'm cognizant of time, and I'm going to end up not doing any of these real justice by running through them. But in terms of growth, think about it. We had 2 boys teams. So if you're going to do younger boys, that's an opportunity to grow. If you're going to do girls, that's an opportunity to grow. So why not think about other sports, particularly if you've got somebody in your area, people that you like, people that you maybe don't know, but you think you would like them, and how you could potentially come together where it ends up allowing you to grow. And I would have thought, even though we've all struggled through this pandemic, I will tell you, this is a great opportunity for you. If you're a well-run organization, visionary, what have you, there are opportunities to definitely grow. In terms of brand awareness, you saw those pictures before, so just to give you an idea, I'm proud to tell you that our under-16 field hockey girls team won the national championship, indoor championship this past weekend. If you look at our baseball teams, being from New England, we're not exactly Florida, but we had 3 nationally ranked teams last year. So in terms of your brand awareness, we have been with Nike. This is our 25th year. For us to be able to do all of these things with the different sports, the brand awareness is obviously very helpful for somebody like Nike, and obviously very helpful for us being Seacoast United. So none of that hurts if you can end up partnering with good people and the opportunities for the sports. In terms of the retailer, we have a very good relationship with We Got Soccer. I would like to believe that because of what we've done, we've allowed Michael to grow by offering We Got Team. So he's looked after our baseball, our softball teams, the whole works. If you looked at that picture with field hockey and the girls that won the national championship this weekend, they have an athletic top that's Nike, a Nike tennis skirt and soccer socks, and then some of the other bits and pieces that Nike will do that I would just assume can work across all sports. So all of that from a retailer perspective will help us and will help you if you're doing more business with people. In terms of facilities, I am well aware that not everybody has facilities. And one of the reasons why you might not have facilities is you're not big enough. So if you have an opportunity to partner with another local sports group or add on something new to yourself, you may find that that's a lot easier to develop a facility. When we first built our indoor facility in Hampton, I can't quite remember, it was back in 1997, what the percentage was of Seacoast United teams that would be training indoors during the winter, as well as playing indoor leagues. But I can tell you something, it wasn't high enough to really make the bank feel comfortable. So if you have a club and you have X, Y, and Z in terms of a number of teams, then that can really help you. And if you look at us, the number of field hockey teams, the number of baseball teams, the number of lacrosse teams, then trying to get your message across in terms of helping you with facilities is very important. One thing that I will mention about facilities as well, in terms of you as a club, for you to think, if any of you have seen our Epping outdoor facility, we have 4 full fields, artificial turf. So just so you know, I'm a proper soccer person, but I'm a real opportunity person. So those fields, most of the time, are rectangles to me. And field hockey play on rectangles. Lacrosse plays on rectangles. Flag football play on rectangles. So that's part of why when you end up being in a situation like we are, you think outside of the box. The one thing that I would encourage you to just not dismiss, for example, baseball. My youngest one was a really good baseball player as a youngster. So half a soccer field with a few little bits and pieces that you tinker with, we can actually do U12 and below for baseball. And softball, because they pretty much play on a little league size baseball field, we can also do softball. Again, we have to tinker with it, but it's been a real plus for us. If you think of yourself, obviously New England, if you want to come and rent an indoor facility in New England in January, you better bring gold with you. If you want to rent an indoor facility in July, let me try and sell you a used car, okay? It's just a totally different world. So for us, with baseball, softball, and lacrosse, it actually helps our facilities outdoor in the summer when soccer is, quote unquote, relatively quiet. So the calendar can also play a difference in terms of you adding sports on and looking to make it go forward. And then in terms of the opportunities, so again, I think I told you before, I'm a soccer person at heart and owe a lot for what soccer has done for me in my life, coming to America, my college education, everything. But I will say this to you, opportunities for kids is still the driving force for me. So, you know, going into field hockey or going into baseball, yes, it's helped with our facilities, but the number one fundamental reason for doing it was I didn't think they were very good, either in terms of opportunities or lack of, and organization. And soccer clubs, again, alphabet soup aside, we're pretty sophisticated and have done a lot of things and have grown the sport to, I'm as proud as anything when I speak to my friends in England, how far soccer's come in this country and how much better it's getting. So I want to make a point that everything that we've done with sports was the right thing to do, period. Forget money, forget this. It was the right thing to do. We've got kids playing Division I, gone professional at all of these different sports that I would argue if we hadn't have done at 6s and 7s or 9 and 10-year-olds, they might not have even been in the sport. So the opportunities for these kids to keep them active, have them with their teammates, everything that the pandemic is not, has always been at the forefront of what we have done. So it might seem impossible for you. It might seem difficult for you. I would just encourage you to think outside of the box. And because of all of this growth and more people and what have you, I'm going to pass this on to James Peterson, because it has allowed us to not only do exceptionally well in advertising, sponsorships, and partnerships, but I would argue without including all of these sports, James Peterson would not be working for Seacoast United, because I would not be able to have a position for him. But because the club has grown so much, it's entitled, or not entitled, but it's enabled Seacoast United to have a director of sales and marketing, which he's ended up doing a miles better job than me, because I could only ever do it half-ass based on all of the other things. So again, I'm sorry if I sounded like I'm rushing through this. Again, I'm going to put my hand up and say, I'm not technologically advanced, so I apologize for a couple of the mishaps there. But I'm going to pass this on to my colleague, James Peterson, for him to speak with you. We'll happy answer questions afterwards. And then obviously you've got access to us anytime you want. So thank you again for your time.
Hey guys, so first and foremost, thank you to Kwik Goal for putting this on, especially in the current climate. I remember being a part of the first one down in Orlando, I believe it was in 2017. And funnily enough, Paul was the MC, I believe, for that. And then I did do a presentation on sales and marketing at that time. And Seacoast United certainly has grown exponentially, just like soccer has. And the landscape of soccer has changed dramatically, especially over the last 12 months. Just a quick bio, if you will. I'm actually a born and raised Floridian. I'm from Tampa, Florida. And the fact that I'm in here in New Hampshire now and it's 45 degrees outside and I think it's warm is shocking. So it's amazing what happens when you acclimatize. But yeah, from Tampa, Florida, moved over to England, went to school in Oxford and worked for Oxford United Football Club for 3 years. And at the time, Oxford had a relationship with Seacoast United. And when I came back to the States, there was an opportunity to come here to Seacoast. And my wife and I have been up here now. It'll be 8 years in July. We have the first 2 New Englanders on either side of the family. Our daughter, Poppy, who just turned 5, and then our son, James, who will be 3 in May. And, this definitely feels like home to us now. It is our home. We love being up here. Certainly Seacoast United has been instrumental in allowing us to have this amazing opportunity. And it's amazing to see what the club's done since I've been here, and certainly where it's going. So again, in the interest of time, wanted to keep this relatively short, and more so Ian, what he's going to touch on is very relevant and pertains to what is going on in the here and now. Whereas the advertising piece, not to say that it's vague, but there's not certainly a one size fits all approach to it. But hopefully, the whole objective of this is to highlight what Seacoast United is currently doing right now, with a real emphasis on digital deliverables and digital marketing, with less of a emphasis on physical, again, because of what's going on right now. How can you guys come away from this presentation with ideas? How can you come away with it and going, I'm going to do that today because I can do it. It's in my bandwidth. I have the resources to do it. So yeah, I want to kind of highlight what we're doing right now. I also want to highlight really, or give you some insight as to what's been an effective method in terms of us reaching out to try to facilitate these sponsorships and these partnerships. The key word being partnership. That is worth its weight in gold in terms of how we go about approaching working with people. I think it's lost on 99% of people in all facets of business. And then also I want to just kind of give you a glimpse as to how successful we have been off the field this year with everything going on, with the key message of saying it works. There's people out there that want to work with you. They want to partner with you because of what you're doing as an organization. And the time is now to get after it, and not using COVID as an excuse or saying, well, I'm not in a position to do this because of everything going on. you couldn't be further from the truth. And obviously we'll shed some light on that. So again, from an advertising perspective, I'm sure some of you have been on countless seminars. I know I've touched on this. I know we've had other people from a Kwik Goal perspective from other clubs over the years that have highlighted all types of advertising initiatives that they're doing. Just a very quick overview of what Seacoast United does in terms of deliverables in our inventory. I wanted to put a lot of focus on the digital assets that we have right now because I subscribe to the notion that every single person on this call can do that. They could do it today. You have the tools and the resources at your disposal to do it, which I'll highlight that in a second. But in terms of digital assets, what we do at Seacoast United is we build out multifaceted partnership packages. And that is purely to ensure that our partners get an ROI out of working with us. There's no two ways about it. We are a for-profit organization, and I say that proudly. It drives me crazy when I reach out to prospective companies and they go, "Oh, you're looking for a charitable donation or a cause or something to that extent." And I'm very honest. I say, "No, I'm interested in connecting with your marketing department, with your corporate partnerships, with your business development, because we want to partner with you guys with the view of you ensuring that you get an ROI, that you can quantify it, however that is that you quantify it, whether it's from a philanthropic standpoint, brand awareness. If you need to sell X amount of widgets, we have the deliverables and the platform in place to help deliver that." So again, all of these things you could easily start doing. From a social media perspective, impeccable timing. Today, every Wednesday on our social media platforms, we do a Business of the Week initiative. So it's the Seacoast, #SeacoastBOTW. So if you guys go on our Twitter or our LinkedIn accounts today at 1:00, so it's actually just gone live right now, we actually did a Business of the Week feature for We Got Soccer, who's arguably one of our most prominent partners. Obviously, I'm fully aware that they're sponsoring this event today, and we have a great partnership with Michael and the entire team there. What we did was we've just highlighted the fact that they've come out with a really cool, really efficient face covering. So again, we just used our platform to highlight that and hopefully drive some more traffic and awareness to their site with our families and our followers. So again, Seacoast Business of the Week initiative that is tied in with our sponsorship package. Newsletter. So again, impeccable timing. This morning at 9:00 across our entire network, we utilize Constant Contact for our email campaigns. In terms of other offerings out there, some of you I know might be utilizing MailChimp and things to that extent, but we use Constant Contact to build out all of our email campaigns. Again, that's a great resource. I would highly recommend anyone that isn't utilizing one of those formats to check it out. From a marketing standpoint, it's fantastic. It provides you all the analytics in terms of click-throughs, and we actually use that data to kind of formulate our campaigns over the course of the year to see what's been the most effective method, what messaging resonates with our families. But our database collectively, we have over 50,000 people that are actively involved in our organization in some capacity. That's broken up between club athletes playing the various sports that we provide: soccer, baseball, softball, field hockey, and lacrosse, and soon to be, or now, esports, which Ian will elaborate on more shortly. And then also that takes into account all the facilities that we have. We do programming as young as 3-year-olds, well, technically 1-year-olds for playtime. And then actually last winter, we became the first club in the entire country to launch a fully holistic walking soccer program, which, no word of lie, we had the ages of 65 to 95 participated in a walking soccer program in Epping, which was easily the most remarkable thing I've ever been involved with. So it's the circle of life at Seacoast United from 1 to 95, again, with over 50,000 people that are involved. And, that's a significant audience. So our newsletter that we send out once a month, it's a partner newsletter just highlighting our partners. And we used today's edition to drum up interest and awareness for all of our restaurant partners in the immediate area, because starting next month, we host our annual March Madness tournament series. So we will have 4 consecutive outdoor, keyword being outdoor, soccer tournaments here in New Hampshire, and then followed by a lacrosse jamboree at the end. So we sent that newsletter out today, just saying, hey, here's 6 of our restaurant partners in the immediate area. They've got some fantastic offers, promotions, what have you, that will be going on all month. And really with that key message of support local, and hopefully, obviously, families will check them out and support them. And again, that's just another layer of ensuring that our partners are getting the most out of being involved with us. Press releases. So we've incorporated this probably over the last 2 years with our more prominent partners. Again, it's just another outlet of exposure for said company. And at the same token, it's a great way to highlight our organization and how, we like to think that when we go about trying to facilitate sponsorships, we do it in a professional manner. Because again, these people are investing in us as an organization. They believe in us. They're showing their faith, that they're putting their energy and their resources into us. And we want to reciprocate that in terms of, how we're working with them. So press releases, again, that's part of always like a multifaceted campaign that we work on. Co-branded campaigns. Again, if you remove the physical element of this, so signage and things to that extent, such things that, this will directly tie in with like title sponsorships. So case in point, programs. We have a grassroots program, which is for 3 and 4-year-olds. So it's an introductory to soccer, specifically through fun games. And we try to introduce some fundamentals, but the whole idea is to get them associated or familiar with the soccer ball. The parents are involved as well. My daughter, Poppy, she's been doing it since she was 18 months old, and then her brothers followed suit. This is his first season, and my wife has been able to do it with him. Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare is the sponsor for our grassroots program. What we did is we did a co-branded video. So we did like a minute video just highlighting all of our participants engaging in the sport, highlighting some coaches, everyone having fun, everyone smiling, this notion of being healthy and active and camaraderie and togetherness. And then in addition to that, Harvard Pilgrim provided all the participants with a takeaway bag with some goodies in it. Harvard Pilgrim's not interested in any shape or form trying to go, hey, by the way, if you signed up for this, here's our small business offerings, or here's our personal, rates. They've approached it purely from a brand awareness perspective, knowing full well that, hopefully these people, whether they're key decision makers at their respective companies, if they're families, from a personal standpoint, the idea that they'll associate Harvard Pilgrim with Seacoast United and this concept of being healthy, being community oriented, that's definitely going to resonate with that audience. And that's something for you guys. I'm sure every single person on this call has some sort of program, some sort of league, some sort of tournament, and remove the element of facility and being beholden to, well, I don't have a facility, so I can't do advertising. Again, you're wrong. You look at those options right there. Again, with the youth program, that's something that we did a video. Their logo's on all the registration information on our website. We obviously, they have the naming rights for the grassroots program when we promote that across our social media and email platforms. And then they obviously provide takeaways. And they have on-site activation at the programs when we do like a end of session get together and things like that. So there's no banners involved or directly tied in with that. That's been a fantastic program for us, and that's something that we've replicated with a lot of stuff. We have an adult league, which is, believe it or not, sponsored by the U.S. Air Force. We've just entered to a partnership with them this year, which has been fantastic. Our tournament series is sponsored by Irving Oil, which is a very prominent gas and home energy company up here in this part of the world. And that's been a great partnership. It's about as multifaceted as it gets. And then obviously I left at the bottom, the signage aspect, because we have facilities that does allow us to do signage in all shapes and forms and whatnot. And also, it allows us to do on-site activation or offer that to our partners. Bearing in mind, over the last 9 months from a New England perspective, we've had 0 on-site activation because obviously the COVID situation and the protocols that are in place, we've had to navigate that and not be in a position to present that to our partners. So we've had to be creative and come up with other deliverables that they could take advantage of. So that, again, I know that's very vague, but hopefully, this will just kind of give you some insight. My biggest thing, again, is just stressing that, the digital component of what you can provide as a club is you've never been in a better position to try to put something together right now. One of the takeaways I definitely wanted to stress to you guys is for you to turn around and roll out a digital sponsorship package. where you could have the said company's logo on your website with a URL embedded into that, redirecting people to their website. You could form a business network, which I'll expand upon that more in a second, and include them in that. And then you could do a business of the week. So again, on your social media platforms, you could start that today. So whether it's Clearwater Chargers, so Clearwater BOTW or Chargers BOTW, and highlight that partner. And then a newsletter. Every single person on here can do a newsletter, whether it's through one of those forums that I highlighted, MailChimp, Constant Contact, etc., and building them into that as well. So that right there is a digital sponsorship package that you could go out today and start promoting to prospective companies. Which, on that note, where do I begin? So again, it's all well and good saying this is what you should be doing. This is what you have available to you. But obviously one of the biggest questions, if not the biggest question, is, how do I go about doing that? So the first thing, who are you? What is your organization? Seacoast United this year, we revamped our mission statement. Our mission statement in the past was always specifically geared towards soccer, and rightfully so. We were founded as a soccer organization back in 1992, as Paul touched on. And over the years, we've evolved into multiple sports, into multiple regions. But over the last 2 years, everything that our organization has done from a philanthropic standpoint, everything that we do off the field is what's just taken us to another level. So case in point, walking soccer. We were the first club to do a fully holistic walking soccer program. Last month, we hosted our first ever virtual career fair. We had over 600 people that were involved in our virtual career fair. There were 100 companies, 500 job seekers, and over 3,200 job openings here in the Granite State. And we collaborated with New Hampshire Employment Security. To say it was a success is a massive understatement. It was huge on so many levels. And for us as an organization, it's using our platform to make a difference. And that's a segue into our new mission statement. So in January, we launched our brand new mission statement, which simply is making a difference in people's lives, both on and off the field. So as it pertains to you guys, in terms of who you are, think about your story. Paul just kind of gave you an abridged version of how Seacoast United started. And I think that's lost on a lot of people in terms of telling your story. How did you start? Because that's gonna resonate with dozens, if not hundreds of companies that you reach out to. So I think, again, a lot of people overlook the simple fact of the matter of just highlighting who you are. Who are your staff members? Who's your community? What is your purpose? What are you trying to do as an organization? You're a soccer organization. Okay, well, there's thousands of soccer organizations out there. But what are you doing to make a difference in people's lives? What are you doing to develop players, physically, mentally, socially, emotionally? What are you doing with all these key members within your community? Those are the things that are really going to separate you from other groups, regardless of what sport it is. And that's the thing that, again, is a feather in our cap as an organization, that we're more than a sports organization. And I think that's extremely powerful. And I use that every day to tell the story of all these things that we're doing, because it's amazing. And especially this day and age right now, people want to hear good things. They want to hear positive things. And we are providing a platform for those things to happen. So who are you? That's the biggest thing right off the bat in terms of how you want to start to formulate and build out this approach of reaching out to partners. Partnership, the one of the most underappreciated words, at least in our industry, which I'll showcase this in a second. What opportunities can you offer? So we just kind of gave you some insight into what you can do right now. If you don't have a facility, fair enough. We just talked about all the digital assets that you guys can start to do. You think about like graphics and things to that extent. I would highly recommend, if you don't want to invest in Photoshop, Adobe, and things to that extent, Canva. Canva is a free product, free software that we use extensively, our marketing team. It's extremely user-friendly. Again, it's a free software, but for you to go on there and start to build out things for social media, for email, for graphics, every single person on this call could use Canva. And I would strongly recommend taking advantage of that. But again, what are your opportunities? What can you do? If you do have a facility, fantastic. You can start to incorporate physical signage and make that into a multifaceted package. So you have the physical aspect, banners, you have the digital marketing components, Business of the Week initiative, partner newsletter, the partner page on the website, the business network, what have you. So you want to start to formulate and piece together what can you as an organization provide in terms of actual deliverables, actual inventory. Who should you ask? So I said digital marketing, digital sponsorship package is the first takeaway from my presentation. Again, I gave you an idea and if anyone's curious as to what you should charge to it, I'd say $500. $500 to be on the website, Business of the Week initiative, partner newsletter, and you're part of the business network. There's no cost associated to it. There's no expense associated to it. And that's something you guys could easily start doing today. But who should you ask is probably the second biggest takeaway I would take from this presentation. Forget about cold calling companies. Again, I mean, to be fair, that's what I do almost every single day. I cold call companies up and down New England. But before you even get into any of that, the things that you need to look at within your immediate network is I would send an email out to your staff today. I would send an email to your staff and say, tell me 3 places of business that you frequent, whether you grab a bite at, have a drink at, who do you use for insurance? Use your staff as a way of building out a network of contacts, because I would argue you could take that database alone and that would keep you busy for however many weeks, reaching out to those people and using that. Say, hey, listen, my staff, my director of coaching can't say enough good things about you guys. He's in there all the time. He loves what you guys do. I know that you're key community members. How can we work together? How can we partner together? So that'll be the first thing. Reach out to your staff as soon as possible. Find out where they're going, who they like, and use that as your foot in the door. The second thing would be to look at your families. I sent out an email to all of our new clubs. We've brought 4 new clubs on in the space of 9 months, right? So I send out an email out to all those teams, said, listen, these are the things that we're doing as an organization that has nothing to do with sport. And it's all the things off the field in terms of what we're doing that separate us from everyone. We have an extensive business network. These are all the deliverables that we do. I would love to connect with like-minded people to see how we can work together, how we can support you, and likewise, how that can be reciprocated. So that went out, and the amount of parents that reached out to me and said, hey, listen, I work with this company, or, James, I'm actually the key decision maker for said company. So that generated tons of leads. And again, it's an easy one. These parents, they like you. They recognize that you are making a difference in their child's life. They want to see you succeed. They want to see you support. And a lot of people, again, overlook that. They don't think of that. So staff and your families, those are things that, again, this week you can send an email out to, and I'd be shocked if you didn't get feedback from these people in terms of, hey, yeah, you know what, let's have a conversation. Let's talk about, what that would look like, us working together. So I would strongly recommend you do that as soon as possible. How should you ask? Again, kind of similar to partnership. Every time I speak to people, I use our story of a way of saying, listen, we have a significant reach. We're doing some amazing things, both on and off the field. We want to work with you. We want to support you. What can we do together to ensure that you're getting the most out of this partnership, and at the same token, allowing us to continue to make a difference? So, I don't ring up people and go, hey, you're interested in advertising? Because it's so much more than that. And then that's not an effective way to approach it. People don't want to hear that. They want to hear about, hey, what can I do as an organizer, or what can your organization do to help me out in whichever way they quantify that. And that is our approach every single time I engage in a conversation with a prospective partner. Follow-up. So this is probably the most important thing in terms of this process. Seacoast United has 115 companies that are a part of our business network. So we formed our business network in 2016. And again, it's comprised of 115 companies, ranging from hyper-local companies like New England Pizza, which is in Exeter, just down the road, to multinational companies like Lonza. So Lonza is based out of Basel, Switzerland. Their North American headquarters is here in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. They're the ones that partnered up with Moderna to roll out the COVID vaccine. We have an unbelievable relationship with Lonza. Has nothing to do with biopharmaceutical or, splitting atoms or anything like that. our whole approach with them was they were building a new plant. They needed to hire 2,000 employees. And I went out to them and said, listen, we have a significant audience. We have so many people involved in our organization. How can we help drive prospective employees to your plant? And that's really how that partnership has evolved into, what it is today. But the follow-up, so out of that 115 companies, we operate on an 85% renewal rate annually with our partners. And it's purely because myself, Paul, we are in constant communication with our partners at minimum on a bi-weekly, if not monthly basis, always talking to them about what's going on, coming up with ideas in terms of ensuring that they're getting the most out of the partnership, constant engagement. And it's a lot of work. If anything, it's account management. Well, it is account management. But that method has been extremely effective for us. It's allowed us to have partnerships that are 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ongoing, which is amazing. And again, I think we do a fantastic job of making our partners feel like they're the fabric of the club, that they are part of our organization, just like a player, just like a family. And again, that's very powerful. And again, a lot of people, whether they don't have the bandwidth or the energy or the time to do it, they'll get a partnership and they're like, oh, brilliant. I just got so-and-so to put $10,000 into our club. 12 months later, hey, it's me again. I know I haven't spoken to you in 12 months, but did you know it's time to renew? So if that didn't work before COVID, it will absolutely fail after this, because people are going to be smarter about what they're doing in terms of investing and putting their energy and their resources and times and aligning themselves with people that they know they want to work with, that they want to partner with. So that's another thing that everyone needs to take into consideration. I think both Paul and other people have touched on the fact that the work starts once you bring someone on board. And everyone knows the adage that, it's far more expensive to gain a new customer as opposed to keeping one. So that's another, massive takeaway from this. The keys to success. So I know Paul's touched on this before. This is what resonates with me. Sponsorship. So every single person here I guess every single person has a sponsorship right now. Probably half of you have a partnership, a quarter of you have a relationship, and there's probably only a fraction of you that have a friendship. So Kwik Goal, they're friends. We Got Soccer, our friends. Nike, our friends. So those three partners right here, right now on this summit that we consider friends. And that's obviously, that takes time. We're actually celebrating our 25th anniversary with Nike this year, which is amazing. But again, that friendship didn't happen overnight. It was a lot of hard work, doing everything we can to ensure that everyone knows that we're aligned with Nike. We Got Soccer, Paul and Michael have been working together and have been friends for over 20 years. And the same with Kwik Goal. So sponsorship, partnership, relationship, and friendship. And then my last piece, just if anyone's going, well, we're in COVID, you can't really ask for advertising right now. I just want to give you a glimpse as to what we've done since July. So our fiscal year is July to June. Again, as I touched on, we have 115 companies that are part of our business network. Since July, we've onboarded 50 companies in terms of renewals and new companies. Out of that 50, 20 of them are new companies that we've brought on board since July. Since July, we've generated over $300,000 in advertising revenue, which, again, with everything going on, it's been life-saving for our organization. It's allowed us to be sustainable. It's allowed us to keep all of our staff on. So it's allowed us to grow. So that's an unbelievable amount of money that's been generated through advertising revenue, through everything that we've just highlighted that we are actively doing right now. And just kind of give you some more perspective. There's about 15 of those companies that are over, $10,000 in terms of investment. So one of my favorite sayings ever is, if you don't ask, you don't get. So I really hope that today people will take from this the notion that I'm going to reach out to my staff, I'm going to reach out to my families, and I'm going to start looking to see how I can partner with people and start to take advantage of this, because the time to do that is now. And with everything going on in the world right now, this is a perfect way to kind of segue into Ian's part. So Ian Burgess, he's the Vice President and Chief Operating Officer for Seacoast United Sports Club. And with everything going on and how everything has evolved, just like with Paul's point about sports, we've recognized that, we've embraced it. And in terms of being proactive and this whole mindset of using our platform to make a difference, we've now entered into some new initiatives, which certainly are just going to start escalating things and going to the next level. So I'm going to pass it over to Ian because he's got some really exciting stuff that he's going to share with all of you guys, all things that you could easily start taking advantage of. So without further ado, here's Ian.
Hey guys, appreciate being third and last. Just want to thank Kwik Goal and Louise and Tim for putting this on. I also want to thank my colleagues Paul and James for allowing me to be a part of the first Kwik Goal Summit presentation that isn't in Florida and it's actually sat in my office. So appreciate it, you two. Thank you for including me. But as you can see, this is the first time Ian Burgess has actually spoken, and James and Paul have gone back to their own desk. So I'll try and go through a few things quickly of things that we've initiated once the pandemic came about. And again, as Paul and James both alluded to, reinventing ourselves a little bit and thinking outside the box. Two of the initiatives were on our radar prior to COVID hitting, and the third one, which I'll share with you shortly, is probably the thing that's going to change our business practices when it comes to coaching and kind of our philosophy behind education, as it were, moving forward. I know every club's different, every region's different, everyone has different ideas, everyone has different resources. So what we're about to share in the next probably 15, 20 minutes, some of you may look at it and say, well, that's a good idea. How do we do it? Some may say, well, that's a good idea, but there's absolutely no chance we can do it because we don't have the resources to do it. And some of you might realize that's a stupid idea. We're not even interested in the first place. What I will share with you is we've put a lot of time and effort and blood and sweat and trials and ideas that worked, that haven't worked. And we've ended up finding some partners that have helped us get through some of the unknowns. So we're at a stage where we can share that with a lot of you guys out here, and you can follow up and figure out how you can be a part of it also, which I'll share with the question and answers at the end. There's probably going to be a couple of follow-up presentations with our new partners with the initiatives moving forward. The first one is something that you're all probably going to say, there's no chance we can do it. Well, education has always interested me. Obviously, Louise gave a big rundown of Paul's background prior to this. Mine, I've always been involved in the education field. Both parents were professors at college. I was an engineer. I ended up teaching at college for a spell before meeting up with Paul. Again, I actually met Paul at college. We both played at the same school, both ended up working for the school, and both ended up coaching outside of the school in the youth game. Met him and he invited me up to New Hampshire, and this is when we embarked on the Seacoast United story. So I've been with Paul since 1997, but always been interested in being in the education field. And in some regards we are, as sports educators, and always thinking outside the box of how we can provide opportunities to kids and the new and next way of developing players. So with the education part, we thought there's only so much you can do with players when you only have them, 4.5, 6 hours a week at most. And even that's seasonal. In some cases, you don't get an opportunity to spend the summer with them. Winter's a little bit more difficult as well, just based on the fact that you might only see them once or twice a week. So we try to piece together the whole education part with having access to kids more. And when better time to have access to them is during the day, during the school period. So we've spent the last probably 3, 4, even 5 years, myself and James and Paul somewhat involved, of how we can bring education on a daily basis to allow us to have access to the players more and provide more opportunities. So again, it's been a long process. We've vetted a number of companies that initiated the online education process to begin with. And based on the pandemic happening, a lot of the vetting has been done for us. So now we're at a period of time where online schooling is a part of kids' lives. It's now cultural. Everyone knows what to do. Everyone is getting by with it, whether they love it or hate it. So we're not reinventing the wheel, as it were. The critical thing for us is, and it was summed up in one of our first meetings with education, our director of the Boys Academy program, who initially was in education as a teacher, sat through the first meeting and said, we know what we can do from a sports and a training and somewhat of a leadership education part, but you can't mess up the formal education of children. So, you know, what became apparent and intriguing to myself and Paul and James during this process is performance-based education is becoming much more prevalent than time-based education. So, you know, you're a third grader, we know what age you are. You're a fourth grader, we know what age you are. Performance-based education allows those students who can accelerate certain things that they shine at, which frees up more time during the day to be able to do things that they really want to do. So to move forward to this year, it was kind of the perfect chance to initiate the opportunity to launch something that we've been thinking about for a while. And I always have grandeur ideas of, well, let's get a school, let's take over one of our indoor fields, let's get a load of desks, let's get somebody, and then let's get them on the field. Well, obviously, the bigger you have your sites, and then you get let down and think you can't do this, you can't do that. And then we ended up settling on what we've called the pod. But during the process of the summer with the pandemic, I'd reached out to the local superintendent and just said, how can we as a sports club in the area help you through this process? So we can open up our facilities, we can provide staff for physical education classes, and make life easier for you in the unknown that you have no idea what's going on, whether you're back to school, whether you're not in school, whether you're off 5 days a week, whether you're in 2 days and off 3 days. So it helped us as good community citizens. And with the school not really sure how things were going to play out, the poor old superintendent was getting bashed that you can't keep kids out of school, etc., etc. So long story short is I got with a few local neighbors who were both parents were working and were completely lost and you know weren't going to be able to do the home education part as can many who would find it difficult. We decided to create what we've called a pod. The school provides the formal education part online. We opened up our facility, and the kids, there's only 8 of them, kind of have the run of the place. Ironically, the daily life has nothing to do with soccer. So we were expecting to do physical education classes, teach them basic foot skills, etc. And they're not interested. They'd rather be outside climbing trees and having field trips. But it showed us that you don't necessarily need 3 big classrooms and all the kids in one age group in one classroom. You can put one over in a corner of a field to do their online schooling. You can move one upstairs. You can put one in an office. And so again, just jumping on James's point, you can think outside the box with facilities. So if you wanted to get 10, 12, 14 kids involved in a school where you can develop them as soccer players, don't worry about the spacing. That will evolve during the course of it. So let's take you now to next year. Our plans for next year. Myself and James had a discussion with the Commissioner of Education of New Hampshire, and he's very forward thinking. So phase 1 for next year is we're hoping all schools are open. We are in the process of applying for our own sports activities to go towards school credit. And this is the way it's going. And he's also thinking outside the box that even if you're in a four-wall school, why do you have to do physical education when half of the kids go out and do club sports and cheerleading and soccer and baseball and basketball? Some do art classes, some do art projects. Why do you then have to go in the school and perform the same type of activity when you could be spending that time doing other things that you're interested in? So we're in the process of being a pilot program somewhat for all of our kids. So if you sign up for Seacoast United next year, we're going to afford you the opportunity of gaining high school credit of being a part of our program. And obviously, applying for it, you can't just be, well, soccer's it. It's going to involve leadership, mentoring, and obviously some criteria that they'll have to make sure that they're part. So they're going to buy more into Seacoast United as well. And the second one is probably bigger. It's partnering with a group that we are going to provide the online academy. So it's for those kids that want to excel a little bit more in soccer, and we're working with a group that's going to or we're actually manipulating the platform now to develop a program where they get their online schooling criteria. It is an online school, but we're going to put the process in place to develop players while we're doing it. So during the course of the day, the kids will be able to have at least 3 or 4 times where they're in a formal soccer education, whether it's, you know, a technical session in the morning, strength and conditioning with one of our partners that Jim talked about, Core and Exeter Hospital, maybe some gameplay later on in the day, but also some leadership and mentorship where the school kids can actually give back to some of our grassroots programs as assistant coaching. So again, a lot of this is in the works. The school program that we're working with is a fantastic group. We've vetted them, and we've had some of our educators go through their program. We're almost at the stage where we can share it with you guys as well, because again, reinventing the wheel is very difficult, but the bigger that we can make this and collectively, then obviously prices will reduce. We're working together for the selective good. So education's the first one. Second one, this scared me a little bit. The online gaming, the esports, knew very little about it, but as you're aware, just based on what Paul and James said, we're a multi-sport organization, and we're always looking at what are the groups of kids, what are the sports, what are the synergies with sports that can help some of our kids try out other things as well, because we always value multi-sport kids. It's very important for the education. So long story short is James had set up a partnership with a local college who we do a few initiatives with, and he'd come to me and said, wow, quite impressed with the college. They've started an online gaming department. First thing I thought of was, that's kind of a partnership that I'd like to get involved with. And after some digging, realized that it is the fastest growing sport in the world right now. It is a $20 billion industry. 91% of kids play the sport, and the guys in the online gaming told me that it's actually more than that, but they've estimated low that 91% kids who are involved in some type of gaming. It is the largest sport now for under 14s in the country, which is also a little bit alarming, but it shows that everyone's into it. As I said, 91% of kids at rec play it, and 250 colleges now have online gaming departments and play intercollegiately, which is really impressive because most of those also have scholarships available. So if you look at the pyramid triangle that we're always talking about, where you have your lower level all the way up to the professionals, there's a giant base for rec players. There's a big base, there's a big group of colleges that are doing it. And the pros above the college has $1 billion in prize money per year. Obviously, a lot of that's in Asia as well, but it's huge. So the part that's missing, which is where from soccer clubs we come into it, is kind of the middle of the pyramid, where they come from rec into our groups. Our groups then push them into college and then ultimately into pro. Well, right now, there is no club esports, I say now, until now. So we knew there was a niche. We knew there's a need. We had a passion for our growing into other sports. But in all honesty, me and James looked at each other and thought, well, what the hell do we do? How do we do it? So we decided to hit the road. We visited our local college. We met with the Department of Online Gaming. And quite honestly, it was speaking in a foreign language to us. We'd come out of there and go, well, that sounded great. What did it all mean? And gamers speak a foreign language. Gamers, they speak like everybody understands what they're saying. And you know, we didn't get it. So we thought we're going to click our heels for the next year, 2 years, until somebody else comes up with this idea, and then we'll try and jump on that bandwagon. Fast forward another couple of months, somebody introduced us, well, actually, it was one of our colleagues introduced us to an ex-coach who had sold his business, partnered up with another guy, and long story short is they created an esports club, which wasn't necessarily a club, it was more of an esports business. And then they decided to try and take this on the road. Heard about Seacoast United, long story is, met again, met a third time, realized that we now understand each other. We know what it takes. They knew where we were as a group, and we shared the same values and same philosophies. So we floated out a marketing piece which James and his team put together to all of our families. And within a day, we had 60 families interested. And what was even more eye-opening to us was numerous colleges had seen the post and reached out to James and said, this is so exciting for us. We are taking rec kids to the college game with no in between. So we know that colleges are going to value us more than anything, and we need to be a part of the club scene and help it grow. So between us, we've created, sorry, I'm supposed to show this presentation. Between us, we've created, bear with me, sorry. I am better than Paul, but still not brilliant. Between us, we've, I'm actually on the wrong bloody thing. Sorry. There we go. Between us, we've created the NECL, which is the club league for online gaming. The partners Uptime United, and we had our very first presentation to our families Monday night, and we had, I believe, over 50 families already signed up enough to create our own club in one of the sports. And these guys are doing most of the heavy lifting for us, but we're the first sports club that's actually jumped in with them, and we're going to work out a presentation with them to share with anybody that's interested to also not necessarily jump on this wagon, but think outside the box of what it's all about. So as I said, this is from them. Some of it's a little bit of a foreign language to me, but it's team sport. We're working together. It's the same philosophy, same values, same things that we would do as a soccer club, as a field hockey club. There's different seasons. There's a weekly training. They provide the coaching. They've got a director of coaching. They're going to provide coaches for access for our players. Ironically, when we first went into it, we thought, well, it's got to be FIFA. That's all we know. They said FIFA is a very small piece of online gaming. That's more the recreational level. Two of the big ones for kids are Fortnite and Rocket League. Again, myself and James didn't know what the hell they were until we embarked on this. And we already, within a day, have created a Fortnite team that's going to be part of the new league. And the more teams that we can get in the league, obviously the better the league is going to be, and more impacting more kids and more families in your club as well. So I know there's a lot of unknowns out there. Again, we've already vetted, done a lot of heavy lifting, and realized that this is a good thing to be in. And we will put together a presentation with the Uptime esports group and share information of how you can get involved. And it's very simple because, as I mentioned, they're going to do most of the heavy lifting. So just looking at the time, I know I haven't got long. The last one for me is, let me just click back out. Last one for me is something that's actually changing our thought process and how we operate moving forward. And this did come out during the pandemic. This is what we've called SU Plus. So very quickly, I know during at the beginning of the pandemic, there was a lot of unknowns. You couldn't see your kids. States were doing things differently. Kids were lost. Parents didn't know what to do. Everyone's tied in the house. So you all did a million Zoom sessions, challenges for your kids remotely, backyard skills, etc., etc. Well, Seacoast United has regions from northern Maine all the way down to southern Massachusetts. And we were seeing clips of what each of our guys were also doing for our families and saying, well, that's a good idea. Well, I did that yesterday. So we were all kind of doing the same thing. Some of it was different. So long story short is we sat down and decided to bottle it all up, make it more efficient, and created a platform with a team of developers to bring SU Plus. And as I said, this is going to change how we operate from a coaching and from a sharing and from a philosophical thing moving forward. It's available for all ages, all skill levels. It's got challenges with it. It's basic techniques and drills for coaches to share at the development level. It also goes to higher level gameplay drills. So in other words, everybody that we had that was doing remote things, we've brought them all together, made them a little bit more professional, and now offering it as a platform for others to be a part of. Now, the reason we developed a platform and not just a library for all of our coaches is this is something that can also drive revenue for you within your own club as well. So just quickly, obviously this is the start of the website. It's for all players, all coaches, basic drills, skills, etc., etc. We're also creating the app now where kids obviously always use the cell phones and they don't want to take a laptop out to the soccer field. So all of these challenges, etc., will be on the app available as well. As I said, it's a platform for all. It's your own progress, achievements. You can do things quicker. A lot of basic stuff that, you know, most of us have got and most of us can do, but making it more professional and adding more in-depth things to it as well. So as I said, we've got a team of developers that have created the platform and now a team of coaches that are going to drive the resources and the content and work together. Where you can come in, it's available for all of you to use and all of you to use as if it's yours. So it's going to be a coded platform that, you know, if you're interested, you can have your own link. It's a white label solution, which means you can actually brand it yourself, put your own name forward, coordinate your own page, share with your own community partners. And again, the more things that you put forward for the content for here, the easier it is for all of us to share as well on our own part. And it's a revenue sharing thing. Now I've dashed through this. The platform isn't ready yet. We're almost ready to launch the website, but we need all our ducks in a row to make sure that we're filtering content every week for a lot of our members. So again, where it's going to benefit us, it makes it consistent. We're going to get rid of all of our millions of libraries. All of our coaches are going to have access to this. All of our players are going to have access to it. It's for player development. It's got challenges. If kids don't make training, click on this link. This is going to show you things that you need to do. It's age specific, so it adds consistency going through the whole program. And the biggest thing for me is I'm very much involved in community partnerships. And I know you're all aware of Challenger Sports. They changed the industry with community partnerships. They would leave two guys there for a year in a town and work with the coaches and do the things that coaches didn't know what to do. Well, now Challenger's gone out, left the industry, as it were. We're in communities, and it's like, we need two coaches for the next 6 weeks, and we need them every night, and we need 4 of a weekend, and it's not sustainable. So we're trying to provide a platform now that we can share with our community partners as well, that, you know, go on here, look at this, get your players, click on, And now we're creating a big platform that can be used, hopefully internationally as well. But again, this isn't just a Seacoast United show with this platform. It's been built so it can also white label to be your platform as well. So again, I apologize for rushing through it. I actually have some videos to share, but I know time is of the essence. But we can jump on this a little bit more and even set up a forum for it if you're interested, if your club's interested in being a part of this as well. But with that in mind, I'm going to open up Paul and James. I know Louise and Tim may need to move forward pretty quickly. As I said, we can follow up with you and whoever's on this call with some more information and then set up another forum for discussions on each particular topic. So I do appreciate everyone's time. Sorry for rushing through everything, and I'll pass it back to Louise and Tim.
Every year, Seacoast United brings a wealth of knowledge to the summit. I do have a question that has arisen. How many members are in Seacoast United? How many? Your entire program, what is it comprised of? How many members?
I think all three of us could answer this differently because we're all involved in different areas of the club. We have direct, what we call Premier level players. We'll probably be there or thereabouts 3,500 after we get through the pandemic, because there's a number of our players that right now just obviously can't play, and being in multi-sport, some of our Massachusetts kids play in New Hampshire, and the laws with passing back and forth make it difficult. I would say overall with all of our programs, we'll be at least 10,000. And that involves, we run a number of leagues, whether it be community leagues, whether it be our own facility leagues, and a number of development skill level and grassroots programs as well. So I would say we directly impact about 10,000.
So Louise, just to give you an example, I play in an old farts league every Wednesday night. So all of the lads that play on that team are not Seacoast United players, but they think they are, as does everybody else in the league, because of the camaraderie, the fact that we put it on and what have you. So that allows us to say that our scope is a little bit higher, because they do feel a part of Seacoast United. This is where they come to play, have fun, hang out with their mates.
Right. James, I think there are a number of us that still want to hire you to help us raise money. We had this conversation, I believe, 2 years ago. I do want to share a story that occurred as I was listening to you speak about sponsorship. 2 years ago, in McLean, we have maybe 7 or 8 turf fields that the club has built in conjunction with the county. But we had one field that we had an exclusive lease on that was a Bermuda field. We put in an irrigation system. We spent about $40,000 a year on maintenance for this one grass field. We changed vendors at some point, and the quality of the field kind of deteriorated a bit. And lo and behold, at a rec game one weekend, these were 9-year-olds, one of the parents on the sidelines was not happy about how the ball was rolling on the field. He was a former player at Georgetown, I found out later. So on Monday, I get this phone call. It turns out he's an ambassador to a very wealthy country, offering to repair the field and give us a donation towards repairing the field. Well, here we are 2 years later with a donation of $650,000, and that field is now being converted to turf this summer. So you're just, like you said, you just don't know what you don't know, and those people that may be in your club. And for me, it was a valuable lesson to reach out and look through our database to see who comprises our membership. And I was shocked by the number of CEOs of major companies like Audi and Volkswagen who all have kids in our program. So I would agree with you. If we can tap into our staff and ask those questions, I would imagine that the list would be exponential. So,
Louise, if I could just add, I say this every time I'm given an opportunity to speak about relationships and what have you. If you're a sports organization and you do not have a relationship with a hospital, you are crazy. Because hospitals do not want people going to the hospital, but inevitably they are, because people are going to get injured. So whether it's athletic training, sports performance, knee operations, or what have you, partnering with a hospital is an absolute must for any organization, because it's such a great synergy in that we're all trying to keep people healthy and fit and what have you. But if you've got 500 or 1,000 players in your club, it is inevitable that people are going to get hurt. And if you get hurt, then you can go to a hospital where they've been doing stuff with the club and there's a connection. It's very, very beneficial.
I would agree. I also think that during COVID, a number of clubs in the area have done fundraisers to help with the frontline workers. And I think that is an initial step into creating those partnerships. And we've worked with Inova Hospital. We worked with the Lombardi Cancer Center at Georgetown. They're all really appreciative of what these kids are doing in a time, where we're all faced with this pandemic. So I would agree. Hopefully those relationships could grow into something more. Let me see if we have any questions here. For James, to what degree do you see the demand for a digital sponsorship sustaining beyond the pandemic-related demand?
Yeah, no, it's going to be just an extension of what we offer moving forward. I'll be the first to say, aside from Business of the Week, partner newsletter, and website, I don't think we did a particularly good job, or I did a particularly good job of thinking about, program sponsorship. So case in point, we're launching our Team of the Week initiative for soccer that'll roll out next month to coincide with our tournaments. We've never had a sponsor for that because I never really considered it as an option. And hopefully, if everything goes the way it should, we will have a partner for that. It'll be the Team of the Week brought to you by so and so. So yeah, that's just going to become an extension of what we can offer. I will say where I definitely see this playing a key role is in esports, and I think as esports evolves, what we're going to look to do is probably just build out a completely different media kit in terms of what sponsorships we could offer that are directly and tied in with that, because it's going to be all driven through impressions and click-throughs and all that. And I'll be the first to say that stuff's over my head, but that's going to be certainly a viable window moving forward. About, again, Uptime is doing a really good job of highlighting when people are streaming their games on Twitch and other forums, and that generates 1 million impressions. Well, that equates to a figure or a value, which in some respects, that's probably easier to actually assign a value to. I was on the USL summit. Well, I was listening to it a couple weeks ago. I forget which company it was, but they did a fantastic job of really kind of outlining in detail how you assign value to digital marketing. It was so finite and specific in terms of if you're placing this Nike swoosh here, when you put your game schedule out, it equates to X amount of impressions, which then means you can turn around to prospective partners and say, that placement is $5,000 because it generates X amount of views. So it is pretty elaborate, pretty sophisticated. And well, that's something we're going to look at as we move forward. But, to take that back to everyone that's on this call, the things that you could easily start incorporating are, a simple social media, Business of the Week, the partner newsletter, the partner page. I have no problem saying I'm no expert at all when it comes to digital marketing, things like that. But that's another layer of value that you can offer.
Okay, so let's move on here. We do have a little bit of a tight window. Again, thank you, all three of you, for your valuable insight into how Seacoast United operates and many facets of the club. Again, this entire webinar is being recorded, and Tim will post this. So for those of you that want to go back, you'll be able to have that ability. I do want to welcome everybody. I'm looking at the attendees. It's incredible. People from all over the country, Canada, and we absolutely have a guest here from Zimbabwe, Africa. That's amazing. So thank you for joining us.